muy malo. Roto el pato de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa. Siempre negativa. Nunca positiva.
Barcelona are back-to-back champions of Spain again after beating Real Madrid 2-0 in the Clásico on Sunday at Spotify Camp Nou. Goals from Marcus Rashford and Ferran Torres sealed the win, which ensured Barca won the league in a game against Real Madrid directly, courtesy of a result in the Clásico for the first time in the club's history. I'm Sam Marsden. This is Siempre Positivo. I'm joined by Rik Sharma and Tony Marti. Rik, how are you?
Yeah, a little bit bleary-eyed, but here we are.
Yeah. Same. I was struggling to get the intro out there for the full transparency. Recording in the morning, of course, after Barca's title success. Celebrations going on late into the night. Finishing work late into the night and up early to record the pod. Tony, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están?
Good morning. Buenos días. Everything fine?
Yeah, lovely day. Well, we won't go into it now, but I can see the sun shining in. A lovely day to be a Shark fan.
Well, no, didn't want to talk about the Shark, but now that you do...
No, we're not. I'm just saying, this feels like a lovely day to be a Shark fan.
We will, because at the end, it's been so unfair what has happened. But later, most important thing first, of course, the trophy, yes.
Yeah, more domination in Spain from Barcelona, of course. A fifth domestic trophy won under Hansi Flick since he took charge in 2024. Of course, the only one missing this season's Copa del Rey, losing in the semi-final to Atletico Madrid. And Clásico domination, of course. That's 7 out of 8 wins in the Clásico for Flick since he took charge. And this one perhaps extra special. Obviously, there have been final wins in the Supercopa and the Copa del Rey, but this one's securing a league title directly against Madrid, as I said, for the first time in Barca's history, but also coming in tough circumstances, as Hansi Flick confirming before the game that his father had passed away over the weekend, later describing what a tough day it had been and how grateful he was for all the support he had received in and around the game, which he decided to stick around in Barcelona for and be in the dugout for, which I think, to be fair to him, obviously we don't know the circumstances of his father's death. We presume he was elderly, given Flick was 61, etc. But this is very much a sort of a Hansi Flick title win, as much as it can belong to Lamine Yamal or other players who have contributed, or the signing of Joan Garcia. The fact that Barca have won these back-to-back titles since 2024, when you think to the situation, how it was when he came in. Obviously, Madrid had just won the league. They just signed Kylian Mbappe. There were lots of predictions of an era of Madrid dominance, given the doubts about Barca under Flick, the lack of money, the youngsters that were going to have to play. So I think it was fitting that he was there as they beat Madrid, as they clinched the title. He was on the touchline. There was black armbands worn by the players. A moment of a minute of silence. But before the game, Rik, it was. It would have been strange if Hansi Flick wasn't there, wouldn't it, Rik, despite the circumstances?
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it, seeing how instrumental he's been to these last 2 years. I mean, today we'll just focus on the positives mostly, no? The fact that Barca have dominated LaLiga over the last 2 years, and obviously last season they also won the other domestic trophies. This season wasn't quite as shiny, but still very, very impressive performance in La Liga. All the stats everyone, I'm sure they already know, won every single home game apart from the one that remains against Real Betis. The fact the team's on course for 100 points if they win their last 3 matches, to be the most successful team of all time, along with Jose Mourinho's 2012 Madrid and Tito Villanova's 2013 Barca. And more than those two teams, I would say, is that this Flick's Barca is really entertaining. Is great to watch. And I think that Flick has turned this Barca around from what we saw under the last season of Xavi into the team they became last season and then again this season in such a quick time. It's kind of remarkable when you look at the fact that most of the names are the same names that Xavi had playing under him.
Tony, Barcelona champions again. How did it feel to see them win the league against Real Madrid, especially after that week Real Madrid have? Obviously, we spoke on Patreon on Friday about the way Real Madrid went into the Clásico, the infighting between Valverde and Tchouaméni, obviously all the sort of controversy, if you will, around Mbappe's injury and how he's fitting into the team. Was it a sweet way to win the league against Madrid at, not completely finished Spotify Camp Nou, but back at Camp Nou for the first time in a few years?
Bueno, al final, at the end, yeah, it's almost always that when one of these clubs are down, the other one is up, no? Because this is more or less, even if there is Atletico de Madrid, there is more or less like Scottish Premier League, no? It's all about 50-50 between Barça and Madrid. So it's very, very difficult to see that when Madrid is up, Barça is not down and opposite, no? So for me, it's not something casual. It's something totally connected and linked. Of course, the day was an historical day, no? It had never happened before that in a Clásico could be decided, mathematically decided the champion of LaLiga, no? But I'd like to go...
Once before.
No.
Not for Barca. When? Do you mean for Barca?
No, for both. When?
1932.
Madrid won against won La Liga after beating Barça in El Clásico.
Drawing with Barca, their first title ever.
Okay, but it was after a Clásico, right after a Clásico.
Yeah.
So, well, for Barça it was an historical day, but I'd like to go beyond that, no? And I was trying to analyze a little bit after the game. And I think I would like to put the emphasis in some pictures, some scenes that I have seen. And for me, that made me thought that which has been the key. Because I don't think Barça has been brilliant. I don't think Barça has been superb. But I do think that Barça has always played as a team and with someone at the wheel, you know. For example, yesterday, you can see some scenes of Vinicius arguing with three Barça players at the same time. Gerard Martin, Olmo, and Cubarsí and Gavi defending themselves. You can see Rafinha's hug in the goal with Rashford and Ferran with Flick. You can see Chesney happy, Valde happy. You can also see Ronald Araujo, who is a captain and has not played almost nothing, being extremely happy. And if you ask me which has been the biggest difference, of course, it's the pitch. But I would say the team spirit that Flick has brought in this Barça. No? In his first day, he said exactly this, that he wanted to build a team spirit. It was the concrete word, the concrete sentence that he said, he proclaimed. And to be honest, at the end, Barça has won thanks to this team spirit, no? Knowing how to suffer, knowing how to be professional, with in some parts of the season, no shining, but doing decent professional job, like you go to Getafe and you are serious and you win. So I think this has been the biggest difference between Barça and Madrid, and the biggest achievement of Hansi Flick. I've always said that. I still have doubts regarding if he can win Champions League with this style, with this kind of tournament. No, but for a long-term competition like La Liga is, the winning mentality, doing it every 3 days, and the team spirit, only with this, and it's not nothing because you have seen that Madrid has not been able to do it, but only with this, with 7.5 out of 10, you have managed to win almost all national competitions these 2 years. Only this Copa del Rey of this year is the only one national team not won by Barça since Hansi Flick has arrived. No, so it's obvious that Hansi Flick is already in the history of Barça. Hansi Flick has showed that nowadays you don't need to be a magician, because for me, tactically, he's not a magician, but with winning mentality and with day-to-day culture, you can succeed. So for me, it's a great lesson for life.
Rik, where do you stand on that? Because I think a lot of people probably agree or probably feel that this isn't the greatest Barca side ever. Yeah, listen to the stats that you reeled off reeled off earlier. They've won 18 out of 18 games at home. They're still on track for a 100-point season. Since losing the Clásico to Real Madrid in October, they've won 23 out of 25 league games. After wobbling against Girona in February and that Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey, the wheels could have started to come off. They had injuries. They've won 11 in a row in La Liga. They're still averaging nearly 3 goals a game in La Liga, just over 2.6. Do we underrate a little bit? I mean, what Barca have done under Flick? I mean, if you think about, like I said, the situation when he first came in, or is it fair to think they have? I mean, I think everyone would agree. Flick, all the players would agree. There's plenty of room to improve. Obviously, Pau Cubarsí said after the game he wouldn't sign for this season again. But in terms of what they've done in La Liga, do we underrate it a little bit? Because in the back of the minds, we're also thinking about how they've done in the Champions League. Is it possible to separate the two or not?
Yeah, I think maybe we do underrate it a little bit, but because of the what we've talked about before, the way that expectations are set, the fact that last season was so good means that this season feels less good. So maybe because of that, we're underrating it a little bit. I think what Tony is saying is completely right about the team spirit and the teamwork, because you look at the team sheet. I mean, just looking at yesterday's, for example, Pedri is the only top world-class player in the team sheet, and yet all those players have contributed. We've talked a lot about Ferran, but yeah, so 21 goals now. Rashford, double figures, not more than double figures, in over 20 goals and assists combined. Fermin, still not, I wouldn't say is like a top-class player, but often contributes. Dani Olmo actually, I think, has become better in the last few months than in the first most of his Barca time at Barca. Joao Cancelo's come in and basically been, since he got into the team, flawless. You know, he's done nothing wrong. Gerard Martin, much better. Eric Garcia, much better than anyone expected of those two players. Pau Cubarsí, he's possibly one where we do expect big things for him, seeing as he came in at 16 and was so impressive. So yeah, maybe he's another one that you can say with Pedri is going to be a world-class player, should be. And Joan Garcia, great first season between the sticks, like 15 clean sheets in La Liga, more than any other goalkeeper. Barca actually not letting that many goals, despite the high line or the whole thing with Flick, and it looks dangerous, but it's not. So yeah, maybe we do underrate a little bit, considering the resources that Flick's got. Maybe we underrate what he's done. Yeah,
I think you touched on plenty of the key factors there, and I'm just focusing on La Liga here, like you say, and it ties in a little bit with what Tony says as well. The performances Flick has got out of players who, at the start of the season, we would have considered squad players who have delivered consistently in La Liga, such as Gerard Martin. And look, we can still have doubts about what his ceiling is, but when you see him, not necessarily even his performance in the Clásico on Sunday, but when you see the change just in his personality, when you see that moment when he gets the ball, gets taken on by Brahim, but gets back in front and lets the ball run out of play for a goal kick, and then he gets in front of the Barca fans and he's pumping his chest, and you just see that sort of that personality and that intensity that perhaps you wouldn't have seen from him before. Also, like you say, Eric Garcia, the versatility he's provided, even getting the nod ahead of Jules Koundé in the Clásico. But then, obviously, the star of the season, gradually, probably between sort of that Clásico defeat in October and until he got injured, was Lamine Yamal, and he's had the majority of Barca's, best goals, biggest goals or assists or whatnot. But the contributions from Barca attackers compared to other attackers in the league is phenomenal. They have 7 of the top 16 players in terms of goal contributions, with Lamine 27, Ferran 17, Lewandowski, Fermin, Rashford and Dani Olmo all 15, and Rafinha 14. And then if you break that down even further into per 90 goal contributions, they have 6 of the top 12, with Lamine Yamal leading the way with 1.07 ahead of Mbappe. So there's been so much contribution from all the players, pretty much all of those players, Yamal, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Rashford, Fermin, Ferran. Well, all of them are over 0.8 goal contributions per game. So they're delivering either a goal or assist pretty much every other game. Some of them even more in terms of Lamine. So there's been plenty of sort of sources of goals and whatnot. And when Barca have been breached, the signing of Joan Garcia has been key. I was looking at some of his stats from the season. The goals prevented stat, I don't know how much people like or feed into that, but his goals prevented this season is over. Well, it's almost 11. Second is David Soria with 8.51. For example, Thibaut Courtois has 0.32. It's not normal to have over 10 in that situation. He's had 15 clean sheets in his 29 games. He's only conceded 20 goals. He's on track to win the Zamora Trophy. And yeah, I think you can illustrate. I don't know, maybe this is a little bit, not recency bias, but when you're clouding your judgment with stats, but when you look back to the 6 games when he didn't play in La Liga and Chesney played, they conceded 11 goals in those 6 games, over half the amount of goals he's conceded in 29, including that. And look, the performance by the whole team was crap away at Sevilla. I don't want to pin that on Chesney, obviously the Clásico as well when they conceded a couple. But yeah, it seems more than a coincidence that they were so poor without Joan and have been so good with him. You look at both Rayo Vallecano games, some of the saves he made. I think Hansi Flick basically said he was effective for the draw at Rayo and the win at home to Rayo. Obviously, that performance away at Espanyol when Barca won it late, some huge moments from Joan Garcia. So I think they're some of the key factors, like you say, the fact that so many players have produced in the final third, the signing of Joan Garcia. And probably the way that the defence has got through the season, despite being patched up, in my opinion, following the departure of Inigo Martinez.
There is also a couple of things that I think we should highlight, and it's not to drop credit to Barca, but at the end, the quality of La Liga teams is really poor, and this is the truth. When you play these kind of games in Europe, it's not the same having to defend Gonzalo Ramos, who scored in Montjuic in the last minute, or the strikers of Chelsea, or even strikers of Bruges in Belgium, where you conceded 3 goals, than facing a team from a league in which there is no fair play, there is no money. So with all my respect, at the end, 1 and 1 is 2, no? I mean, you go to Getafe and you face Satriano, good player, but the finishing not good. You go to other stadiums and you face La Liga strikers. So at the end, it's normal that in La Liga you have been successful, of course, because the quality is not the same in Europe. You have gone in Europe and you have conceded at least 1 goal for more than 1 year. So for me, normally Barca was not used to this gap between Spanish level and Champions level. Now I see that there is a gap, so Barca is not getting used to this intensity that it's bringing Europe. And then after being more than decent in La Liga, then when you play champions, not only with top teams, as I say, Brujas, Bruges or other not really big teams, have put you in problems. So there is a gap between what La Liga demands and what Champions League demands. This on one side, and the second part that I would like to add is, for me, the season of Barca, as Sam says, it shows that we cannot judge the player saying this player is good, is bad. No, the word to be doesn't exist anymore in football. It's not. It is you are, I am. No. Maybe when you work programming with ¿cómo se dice? With Python and all these programs, yes, you are a good programming or not. But football is not you are good, you are bad. It's you are playing well, you are in a good shape or you are in a bad shape. It's not different Kubarsi, the one who has been creating doubts and now he's outstanding. It's not different Ferran, the one 3 months ago seemed some in celebrate and now he's again on fire. It's not different player Gerard Martin or the Eric of 2 years ago than now. It's the same player. We cannot analyze. I hate when we analyze playing, making judgments like he's not good enough for Barca. No, let's say at his 70% he's not good enough for Barca. But now you see that it's not about good or bad. Every player has quality, but just you need to put him fit in terms of fitness. Biggest difference between the Hansi Flick and Xavi Hernandez, because you see how this Barca is pressing and running, and in terms of energy, the team of the big leagues in Europe who has done most comebacks, and this is the point, no? So Rashford normally would be a 7, has been 8.5. Ferran normally is a 7, has been at least for me 8. Cubarsí for me is 8, has been a 9. Gerard Martin for me is a 5, and now performing as a 9.5. Everybody's performing better than we expected. So when it happens, at the end there is a common factor. The coach has made them better.
You could see, and I guess it's easy. I don't know if easy is the word, but it's more noticeable on a day like Sunday, Rick, when obviously not just the Barca winning the title, but obviously the situations around Hansi's dad passing. But you could see how much the players loved him, couldn't you? Both during the goal celebrations and after the game.
Yeah, they picked him up and threw him in the air, gave him the bumps, and everyone said it. I've heard it from a lot of different players. They say, "Oh, he's like a father. Hansi's like a father," and then Hansi says, almost every week without fail, "This is like a giant family, this club. Everyone in here is like a giant family." And he spoke after the game and explained sort of the process of what happened yesterday and the fact that his mum called him in the morning and said that your dad's passed away. And then Hansi said, "Well, I thought to myself, should I hide this from the team or should I tell the team? Like, is it going to affect them if I tell them before the Clásico or it doesn't? Should I just tell them?" And he said, "Well, because Barca's like a big family, I decided to tell them." And he says they reacted really well to it, and then I obviously went out and performed like they did last night. And yeah, I mean, it is obviously very sad for Hansi, but I think like he said after the game, he was so proud with what happened.
Yeah, you've obviously seen Hansi, spoken to Hansi in a lot of press conferences. You can see how he could be viewed as a father figure. Because I don't think it's something that just happens just because he's the coach and he's older than the players. There's a character or there's a trait or there's something about him that gives that feeling, isn't there?
A warmth, yeah. He's a warm guy. You can see from sometimes his little jokes that he makes, and the jokes. I don't want to make an unfair comparison on another coach. For example, just for example, yesterday, Alvaro Arbeloa, but just because he was there yesterday. I mean, not that I went to his press conference, because by the time Barca finished their title celebrations, he had been and gone, obviously, to get out as soon as possible. But you've seen him in other press conferences where he makes jokes, but they're not like Hansi Flick's sort of dad jokes or uncle jokes. They're, a bit more snarky, a bit more bite to them. Whereas Hansi is just, apart from on the rare occasion where he feels very harshly done by referees. And even then, it's kind of like his feeble attempts of complaining, Hansi Flick. He tries to be like, "Oh, I can't believe this happened to us." But he's just, he just doesn't really have that rage in him like some other coaches do.
He has lost his cool a couple of times. I can't remember which exact moments, but
it feels like
a couple of decisions that have pushed him a little bit to the limit, to the edge. I'm sure there is an angry side of Flick which we don't get to see so much.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, almost certainly to be a top level coach, you probably do have to have everything in your wheelhouse. But it feels more like sometimes that like a kid's dropped their ice cream scoop on the back of his car or something, rather than the world's coming to an end.
Shall we talk about the game a little bit then? Because Hansi Flick stuck around to see Barcelona beat Real Madrid 2-0. The game wrapped up inside 20 minutes. Really, Barca scoring with their first 2 shots on goal, and what goals they were. Marcus Rashford opening the scoring with a free kick from the right side of the box with his right foot. You'd usually think that position was for a left footer. He whipped it into the top corner. It was the first goal Barca have scored in a Clásico since 2012 from a free kick. The last one scored by, of course, Lionel Messi. Rashford said after the game he wasn't going to shoot, but players like Olmo and Pedri told him he had to, so he built up a little bit of hype, I think was his word, had a go, and yeah, what a go he had. Courtois, the returning Courtois, obviously returning from injury, beaten. In the 18th minute, Barcelona made it 2-0, a ball from Fermin into Dani Olmo, and a lovely, lovely touch from Olmo set up. Rick looking at me like it wasn't Olmo.
No, it was a lovely touch from Olmo, but I thought you were about to say it was a lovely touch from Ferran. It wasn't, but it was a great finish.
No,
it was a great finish.
The goal... the goal was done. The goal was done. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is, the one who scores.
No. Great finish. I just thought Sam was going to say Ferran's touch was lovely, which it was not.
Well, set up, as you may have guessed, Ferran Torres, who made it 2-0 with his 16th league goal of the season. He is Barca's joint top scorer in LaLiga with Lamine Yamal, but he has 3 games to move past him and continued his good form. He's been in goal-scoring form in the last few weeks after that long drought. Madrid did have a couple of sort of more than half chances. There was a ball over the top for Gonzalo Garcia, but he poked into the side net, and there was a dangerous ball across the box for Vinicius, which provoked a huge sort of interception or sliding sort of challenge from Eric Garcia to stop it getting to the Brazilian. But I would say the best chances from there on eventually fell to Barca. There was a great chance for Marcus Rashford from a brilliant assist from Ferran, which just nicked off Courtois and went wide. Perhaps Rashford should have scored. There are also saves from Courtois in the second half from Ferran, from Rafinha, from Lewandowski. Barca could, and perhaps on another day, could have scored 3 or 4. There were a couple of chances for Madrid in the second half, an offside goal for Bellingham, etc. But it stayed 2-0. I certainly had the feeling at 2-0 after 20 minutes when the Olays were already starting in the stadium, and the chance of Campeones and Madrid Salud al Campeón, that maybe we would see a 4, 5, 6 goal win and Madrid might implode after everything that had gone on in the week. But I'm sure their fans wouldn't say they played well, but they held it together to not be absolutely smashed when maybe they could have been. Rick, a slightly strange game given, even though Madrid could have won to delay Barca's title celebrations, given everything that had gone on in the week and some of the comments made, you felt or you knew that they'd given up on La Liga. Given Barca went 2-0 up inside 20 minutes, there wasn't really much fight from Real Madrid, which meant it was quite an open game. But given Barca were 2-0 up, given the situation, it always felt that it was in control, really.
Yeah, I think it kind of was the game, even though it was, I agree, like a slightly strange game in itself. It was kind of the game that we were talking about the other day. We kind of expected that Madrid would come and try not to get battered and would try to put up a decent performance, but Barca would have too much for them and would get over the line to win this title. And I think the early goals obviously helped with that, because after 2, Madrid were like, okay, let's stop the bleeding here, and Barca were like, okay, of course we'd love to score a few more goals, but the most important thing is that we win this title and we win this game. So at 2, they never really looked like letting in one, apart from maybe there was a short spell, like you say, where Bellingham had that offside goal, and Madrid had 1 or 2 chances. Gonzalo Garcia just wide when he got in behind the defence. But yeah, it was kind of the game. Both teams put in a lot of energy, in the sense that it reminded me of kind of like a 90s football match without much structure or clever build up. It was kind of like just throwing the energy at it to try and make something happen. And so the first half was kind of entertaining in that regard. Second half had a bit more control, and Barca seeing the game out and getting it over the line while trying to play it into Rafinha, the substitutes, Lewandowski, to try and get that third goal. But overall, solid display and more than enough to win a title.
Yeah, I don't want to lean too much on this, but it does feed into what we were saying about sort of the Barca squad sort of delivering across the squad. Because obviously the reason I don't want to feed into it too much is because obviously Madrid were missing a lot of players. There was obviously no Mbappe, no Rodrigo, no Arda Güler, no Valverde after he got concussion in that fight with Tchouaméni, no Dean Howson, who was injured in the warm-up. But this was a Barca going out to win the title against Real Madrid without any of the front 3, which made them so fun to watch last season. Obviously for different reasons. Lamine Yamal injured, out for the rest of the season. Rafinha back from a hamstring injury, but hadn't featured yet since returning. He did come on in the second half. And Lewandowski is obviously sort of half lost his place to Ferran Torres, then half wins it back, then loses it again. At the moment, he's lost it, so he only came on as a substitute. But it just goes to show how sort of the squad and the team have come together, that situation. Because if you think of in the past or last season or at any point this season that you'd have said, if you'd have gone back to the start of the season and said Barca need, without saying the points difference, because obviously it clouds how commanding Barca's position was, but if you'd have said Barca need to win the La Liga title, need to beat Real Madrid or avoid defeat against Real Madrid to win the La Liga title, they'll be without Rashford, they'll be without, from the starting 11, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha and Lewandowski. Gerard Martin will be centre back, Eric Garcia will be right back, Frankie de Jong will be on the bench, etc. You'd have gone,
snuck Frankie in there.
Could be tough given how sort of dependent we felt they were on certain individuals. So the fact that they got the Clásico done and it didn't even feel like a much changed team, the squad is key, and that was again the case, I guess, fittingly as they won the Clásico to win the league. Tony?
Sí, tengo la sensación, I have the feeling that Barça wants to fulfill, to get 100 points, wants to do the record. So yes, Barca wanted to control in the second part of the game. They took it seriously, and to be honest, I feel that Barca was not playing even at 60% the end of the game. And in some actions, I still saw Barca's players totally surprised because Madrid players were walking. So I think, it was totally surrendered Madrid. After the halftime, you saw the face of the players not really believing that they could manage to react after this 2-0. So, no, for me, as you say, there was the feeling of some compassion of Barca players in the last 30 minutes. It's true what you say, that Madrid managed to at least not being totally smashed.
No manita.
Yeah, but for me, what I always say, football is not... ¿Cómo es un interruptor?
Light switch.
When you turn off the light, what you push... Yeah, it's not a light switch. When I want, I do it. And when I don't want, I don't do it. No. Luckily, it doesn't work like this. So when you want to activate yourself, luckily, you cannot if you have not been doing this in the last year. Because the benefits of a good physical condition training, it's not coming when you do it. It's coming after 1 year doing it. It's always with 1 year of delay or 8 months. That's why Barça, for example, with Valverde kept winning a lot even if they were not training, because you're still bringing this stamina of good times, of Luis Enrique. So it's the same with Madrid. So, yeah, well, disaster what I saw in Real Madrid players. And I saw a very, very serious Barça, but very, 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 very easy. I didn't feel that Barça were really thinking that another result was possible. I think that the 22 players that were playing, they all knew that Barça was going to win. So I saw a very relaxed Barça.
Yeah, didn't have the tension of a Clásico despite the scenario for various reasons, which we've obviously covered. Let's just quickly wrap things up then with Rik's ratings from Barcelona 2, Real Madrid 0.
Most people 7 out of 10. Eric, Kuba, Gerrard, maybe 7.5. Joan Garcia 6, didn't have a great deal to do. Marcus Rashford 7.5, and to the delight of Juan Martí, Ferran 9 out of 10.
Great game of Ferran, not only with the goal,
Yeah, no. That's what I like the most, actually. His game. It's just a game I asked from Ferran, and he doesn't often deliver it, but he did.
Great pass to Rashford on that 1-against-1, receiving with the goal at his back. No, it was a really good game, but I wouldn't have given a Rashford 7. For me, Rashford was more than decent. I mean, I would give him minimum 8.5 to Rashford.
Yeah, I can understand it. It kind of reminds me of the Atletico game in the Champions League, the first leg, where he's hyperactive and he's involved a lot, and that's very important to have an electric player who's involved a lot. But the accuracy was obviously, apart from the free kick, was lacking.
Yeah, bueno, but you cannot exclude the free kick. I mean,
yeah, well, it's 7.5, more than most players.
No,
but yeah.
Decent game in average for Barça. Also, I think that Gerard Martin was great. Cubarsí, also Eric. Everybody played well. I think it has been a collective win, because also Olmo, as you say, has improved these last weeks. Gavi also, for me, I'm surprised with a good level of Gavi, to be honest, with the ball.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about Gavi, actually. When Sam was bringing up Frankie a minute ago, when he was checking him in with Lamine and Rafinha and all that, I'm been quite impressed with Gavi, especially in this game, in the sense of I'm starting to think maybe actually more than I thought he's played a little role in these last few weeks of the season. I didn't really expect him to play that much of a role.
Flick wants to help him to go to the World Cup, so yeah.
Yeah, but also made me think actually playing alongside Frankie deeper in midfield looked quite good, and he was quite. He didn't throw himself into like really stupid tackles, which is sometimes a problem with Gavi.
Sí.
And more so in a Clásico. I was kind of surprised.
There is a problem for next season, because right now, as things stand now, I cannot see Frankie ahead of Gavi anymore. To be honest, I mean not what I would do. what I think, because I know the Flick's opinion on Gavi.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to next season, obviously, in later podcasts and on the Patreon. But I think it's the perfect scenario for Barca. Obviously, there'll be injuries, there'll be suspensions, but Pedri, Gavi, De Jong, and Bernal for those two positions, sort of fighting, rotating, should be good. I think you can get one season out of it. I mean, Bernal is still young. You can still get away with sort of leaving him out of big games potentially, even though he's really knocking on the door to be a starter. Obviously, the situation you have to manage and keep happy is Gavi and De Jong. Obviously, you can rest Pedri, you can play Gavi further forward, you can do things so that they all get minutes. But obviously, we all know if you're missing Clásicos or big Champions League games, players understand and know what their role is. But I think given that Gavi's just come back from injury and the situation obviously explained, I think Flick's got one season of that before potentially, if all three of them are fit this year and vying for regular places next summer, perhaps potentially Gavi or De Jong, depending on how the season panned out, could be unhappy.
Yeah, and that might be all Flick wants is one more season, and then it's someone else's problem. But if he can take Barca to the Champions League next season and play at the sort of basically finished Camp Nou, which was his two big dreams, he said, was winning the Champions League and coaching Barca at a completed Camp Nou.
There'll be minutes for everyone, and they'll all be happy if they win the Champions League Of course. Anyway, plenty of questions there about the midfield. Obviously about Rashford and Ferran Torres as well. Two players with uncertain futures. Speaking after the game, Marcus said if he was a magician, he would stay at Barcelona, but he doesn't know what the future holds. Of course, Ferran Torres, only 1 year to go on his contract. There may be a shake-up in that number 9 position in the summer. So if you do have questions after Barcelona wrapped up their 29th league title, back-to-back titles under Hansi Flick, then drop them on the Patreon or the Discord this week. We'll be back with a Q&A later this week. That will probably drop on Friday with me, Rik and Toni. And there will also be a bonus pod on Patreon after Barca's league game against Alaves, because there are still 3 games to go in the league, despite Barca wrapping up the title. They travel to Vitoria on Wednesday for their next fixture. In the meantime, stay positive.